Good morning. As you can see, I have my dear friend Mia here, and she's going to share this space with me this morning. So, go ahead and.
So I'll start us off by saying a prayer for America. O thou kind Lord, this gathering is turning to thee. These hearts are radiant with thy love. These minds and spirits are exhilarated by the message of thy glad tidings. O God, let this American democracy become glorious in spiritual degrees, even as it has aspired to material degrees, and render this just government victorious. Confirm this revered nation to upraise the standard of the oneness of humanity, to promulgate the most great peace, to become thereby most glorious and praiseworthy among all the nations of the world. O God, this American nation is worthy of thy favors and is deserving of thy mercy. Make it precious and near to thee through thy bounty and bestowal.
A prayer by Bahá'u'lláh. Glorified be thy name, O Lord my God. I beseech thee by thy power that hath encompassed all created things, and by thy sovereignty that hath transcended the entire creation, and by thy word, which was hidden in thy wisdom, and whereby thou didst create thy heaven and thine earth, both to enable us to be steadfast in our love for thee, and in our obedience to thy pleasure, and to fix our gaze upon thy face, and celebrate thy glory. Empower us then, O my God, to spread abroad thy signs among thy creatures, and to guard thy faith in thy realm. Thou hast ever existed independently of the mention of any of thy creatures, and wilt remain as thou hast been forever and ever. In thee I have placed my whole confidence. Unto thee I have turned my face. To the cord of thy loving providence I have clung, and towards the shadow of thy mercy I have hastened. Cast me not as one disappointed out of thy door, O my God, and withhold not from me thy grace. For thee alone do I seek. No God is there beside thee, the ever-forgiving, the most bountiful. Praise be to thee, O thou who art the beloved of them that have known thee. Wait a second, let me just fix it a little bit. Can you move over toward me a little bit?
kind Lord, praise be unto thee, that thou hast shown us the highway of guidance, opened the doors of thy kingdom, and manifested thyself through the Son of reality. To the blind thou hast given sight. To the deaf thou hast granted hearing. Thou hast resuscitated the dead. Thou hast enriched the poor. Thou hast shown the way to those who have gone astray. Thou hast led those with parched lips to the fountain of guidance. Thou hast suffered the thirsty fish to reach the ocean of reality, and thou hast invited the wandering birds to the rose garden of grace. O thou Almighty, we are thy servants and thy poor ones. We are remote and yearn for thy presence, are athirst for the water of thy fountain, are ill, longing for thy healing. We are walking in thy path and have no aim or hope save the diffusion of thy fragrance, so that all souls may raise the cry of, O God, guide us to the straight path. May their eyes be opened to behold the light, and may they be freed from the darkness of ignorance. May they gather round the lamp of thy guidance. May every portionless one receive a share. May the deprived become the confidants of thy mysteries. O Almighty, look upon us with a glance of mercifulness. Grant us heavenly confirmation. Bestow upon us the breath of the Holy Spirit, so that we may be assisted in thy service, and like unto brilliant stars, shine in these regions with the light of thy guidance. Verily, thou art the powerful, the mighty, the wise, and the seeing.
Good morning, Lita. Good morning, Michelle. This is my friend Mia. O thou whose nearness is my wish, whose presence is my hope, whose remembrance is my desire, whose court of glory is my goal, whose abode is my aim, whose name is my healing, whose love is the radiance of my heart, whose service is my highest aspiration. I beseech thee by thy name, through which thou hast enabled them that have recognized thee to soar to the sublimest heights of the knowledge of thee, and empowered such as devoutly worship thee to ascend into the precincts of the court of thy holy favors, to aid me, to turn my face towards thy face, to fix mine eyes upon thee, and to speak of thy glory. I am the one, O my Lord, who hath forgotten all else but thee, and turned towards the dayspring of thy grace, who hath forsaken all save thyself in the hope of drawing nigh unto thy court. Behold me then with mine eyes lifted up towards the seat that shineth with the splendors of the light of thy face. Send down then upon me, O my beloved, that which will enable me to be steadfast in thy cause, so that the doubts of the infidels may not hinder me from turning towards thee. Thou art verily the God of power, the help in peril, the all-glorious, the Almighty. Bahá'u'lláh.
O my Lord, make thy beauty to be my food, and thy presence my drink, and thy pleasure my hope, and praise of thee my action, and remembrance of thee my companion, and the power of thy sovereignty my succor, and thy habitation my home, and my dwelling place the seat thou hast sanctified from the limitations imposed upon them who are shut out as by a veil from thee. Thou art verily the Almighty, the all-glorious, the most powerful.
Here's a prayer by the Bab. Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, praised be God. He is God. All are his servants, and all abide by his bidding. Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, praised be God. He is God. All are his servants, and all abide, all abide, all abide by his bidding.
This is a prayer for aid and assistance. Lord, pitiful are we, Grant us thy favor. Poor, bestow upon us a share from the ocean of thy wealth. Needy, do thou satisfy us. Abased, give us thy glory. The fowls of the air and the beasts of the field receive their meat each day from thee, and all beings partake of thy care and loving kindness. Deprive not this feeble one of thy wondrous grace, and vouchsafe by thy might unto this helpless soul thy bounty. Give us our daily bread, and grant thine increase in the necessities of life, that we may be dependent on none other but thee, may commune wholly with thee, may walk in thy ways, and declare thy mysteries. Thou art the Almighty, and the loving, and the provider of all mankind.
Okay, so we're going to stop with this portion for now, and we'll go back at the end and have more prayers. So we've been reading from this little book, Spiritual Strength for Men. And but everything in here is for women too. So I'm just gonna, it just has little passages in it. You have to sit more toward me because they can't see you. Those Facebook people can't see you. This is a quote from Abdu'l-Baha. Bahá'u'lláh, may my life, my soul, my spirit be offered up as a sacrifice unto his lowly servants, hath during his last days on earth given the most emphatic promise that through the outpourings of the grace of God and the aid and assistance vouchsafed from his kingdom on high, souls will arise and holy beings appear, who as stars would adorn the firmament of divine guidance, illumine the dayspring of loving kindness and bounty, manifest the signs of the unity of God, shine with the light of sanctity and purity, receive their full measure of divine inspiration, raise high the sacred torch of faith, stand firm as the rock and immovable as the mountain, and grow to become luminaries in the heavens of his revelation, mighty channels of his grace, means for the bestowal of God's bountiful care, heralds calling forth the name of the one true God, and establishers of the world's supreme foundation. Want to read the next paragraph from there?
These shall labor ceaselessly by day and by night, shall heed neither trials nor woe, shall suffer no respite in their efforts, shall seek no repose, shall disregard all ease and comfort, and detached and unsullied, shall consecrate every fleeting moment of their lives to the diffusion of the divine fragrance and the exaltation of God's holy word. Their faces will radiate heavenly gladness, and their hearts be filled with joy. Their souls will be inspired, and their foundation stand secure. They shall scatter in the world and travel throughout all regions. They shall raise their voices in every assembly and adorn and revive every gathering. They shall speak in every tongue and interpret every hidden meaning. They shall reveal the mysteries of the kingdom and manifest unto everyone the signs of God. They shall burn brightly, even as a candle, in the heart of every assembly, and beam forth as a star upon every horizon. The gentle breezes, wafted from the garden of their hearts, shall perfume and revive the souls of men, and the revelations of their minds, even as showers, will reinvigorate the peoples and nations of the world.
I am waiting, eagerly waiting for these holy ones to appear. And yet how long will they delay their coming? My prayer and ardent supplication at eventide and at dawn is that these shining stars may soon shed their radiance upon the world, that their sacred countenances may be unveiled to mortal eyes, that the hosts of divine assistance may achieve their victory, and the billows of grace rising from his oceans above may flow upon all mankind. Pray ye also, and supplicate unto him that through the bountiful aid of the ancient beauty, these souls may be unveiled to the eyes of the world. We have been reading from The Summons of the Lord of Hosts, a compilation of tablets by Bahá'u'lláh. This particular compilation is made up of tablets which contain many of Baha'u'llah's letters to the kings and the rulers of the world. And we're about to start the fourth tablet in this book. It's called the Lawh-i-Fu'ad. And let's look and see what this is about. We'll look at the footnotes. It says, the Lawh-i-Fu'ad was addressed to Sheikh Kazim-i-Samandar of Kazvan, one of the apostles of Baha'u'lláh. Its subject, the former Ottoman statesman Fuad Pasha, died in France in 1869. The letter names Kaf and Za refer to the K and Z of Kazim. So that's his name. Kaf and Za are referring to Sheikh Kazim-i-Samandar. Now, it says that this is about the former Ottoman statesman Fuad Pasha. Oh, Fuad Pasha. Yeah, okay. So we'll find out who Fuad Pasha was and what he did. He is the most holy, the most glorious. Kaf, Za. And that's where he's saying the letters Kaf and Za, referring to the name of Kazim. We call unto thee from beyond the sea of grandeur, upon the crimson land, above the horizon of tribulation. Verily no God is there save him, the Almighty, the most generous. Walk thou steadfastly in my cause, and follow not the ways of those who, upon attaining unto the object of their desire, denied God, the Lord of the Lords. Ere long shall he lay hold upon them in his wrath, and he verily is the all-powerful, the all-subduing. Okay, so I feel that I should explain what I believe he's saying here. He says, be steadfast, and don't be like those who, after having found the Lord of the worlds, Bahá'u'lláh, turned away. And he's saying there's a price that's going to be paid for this, because Bahá'u'lláh has brought the blueprint for the building of the kingdom of God on earth, the day of the peace of humanity. And it's not a small thing to turn away from this. This is what we've all been waiting for, so that we can learn how to live together as a human family. And it's a serious matter to find it and then turn away. I'm going to go on. And if you have anything to add, please jump right in. Sure. Know thou that through the power of his sovereign might, God hath seized him who was the foremost amongst them that passed judgment against us. So this is where he's talking about Fu'ad Pasha, who had a position in the Ottoman Empire. And it says that Fu'ad Pasha was one of the biggest persecutors of Baha'u'lláh and his followers. When he saw his torment approaching, he fled to Paris to seek recourse to physicians. Is there none to help me? He asked. He was smitten upon the mouth and told, there is no escape. And there's a footnote there, 59, and I'm going to guess that this is from the Quran. That's what I'm going to guess. This footnote is referring to something from the Quran. Yes, it is. So he was smitten upon the mouth and told there is no escape. So that's a quote from the Quran, a prophecy. Good morning, Gwen. Nice to see you. And when he turned towards the angel of wrath, he well nigh expired from fear. I have a house full of riches, he pleaded. I have a palace on the Bosphorus, beneath which rivers flow. The angel replied, no ransom shall be accepted from thee on this day. Even shouldst thou offer up all things visible and invisible. Hearest thou not the sighs of the kindred of God, whom thou didst cast into prison without proof or testimony? Thy deed hath provoked the lamentation of the inmates of paradise, and of those who circle morn and eve round the throne on high. The wrath of thy Lord hath descended upon thee, and stern is he in his chastisement. You know, as a human race, we're struggling to come to terms with what we intuitively realize is our purpose on earth, which is to love in a non-judgmental way. We're struggling to learn how to not judge each other. And I see this around me all the time with my friends and companions and associates, that people are aware of this in the circles that I travel, that they're trying to learn. We're all trying to learn kind of together how to not judge. And we know that God is all loving and all merciful. So this whole issue of retribution is a very tricky thing for us to deal with, because we don't know how to put it all together. But Baha'u'lláh says, in the hidden words, he says, O son of spirit, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. By its aid thou shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of others, and shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily justice is my gift unto thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. That wasn't an exact quote. I got some of the words mixed up. And I forgot a part. But anyway, he says, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. And in the Baha'i faith, our supreme governing body is called the Universal House of Justice. So our understanding is that justice has to be the bedrock. And yes, there's mercy for sure. But first comes justice. People cannot just do whatever they want and think that it's okay and think that they're going to get away with it. They're not. Because justice is a force. It's the way the universe works. What did Martin Luther King say? The arm of justice is long, but it bends. No, the arm of, what is it?
It's something like that. But
the arm of fate is long, but it bends towards justice. Yeah. It's going to come around. So I don't think that we need to be, when people do these terrible, terrible things and persecute innocent people, there's got to be a price for that. Whether it's here on earth or whether it's in the next world or both, there's a price.
I have something to say.
Sure.
I think one of the distinctions that has to be made, our task, as you say, is to love without judgment. And Christ made that very clear when in his speeches about, I say unto you, you have been taught an eye for an eye. He abolished that law so that we could learn to love. And this whole turn the other cheek. So our task is to be merciful and be free and be loving. However, my understanding is that justice comes from God. Like, vengeance is his. And in this case, it is not condemnation coming from somebody who's not a manifestation or the connect between the unknowable essence of God and man. It's coming from Bahá'u'lláh. It's coming from the heavenly host that this ruler is being brought down. I think if we try to do both, we'll get tossed to and fro. So if we want to be absolutely loving and merciful, that can't coexist with wanting to bring vengeance ourselves against somebody for a wrong that has happened. In fact, we internalize that, and in ourselves we end up sinning because it's not ours. It's not ours to do.
Right. And that has a lot to do with faith, because we have to really clearly understand that distinction between our job as individuals to be loving and merciful and have a sin-covering eye, and knowing that God is going to take care of stuff. Mm-hmm. And in the Baha'i faith, we have institutions, and there are institutions in the world whose job it is to bring justice. And they may not always be perfect institutions, but they're a starting place. And you can't get where you want to go if you don't start. So here we're continuing, and Fuad Pasha, according to this book, says, he made reply, I held command over the people, and here is the mandate of my authority. Hold thy peace, O denier of the day of judgment. And there's a footnote there. It's probably also from the Quran. Let's see, 61. Yeah, the day of judgment is in the Quran as well as, of course, the Bible. He implored, is no respite possible so that I may send for my family? Far from it, O disbeliever in the verses of God. Thereupon the keepers of the fathomless abyss called unto him. The gates of hell have opened wide to receive thee. O thou who hast turned away from thy Lord the unconstrained. Repair unto its fire, for it yearneth after thee. Hast thou forgotten, O rejected one, when thou wert the Nimrod of the age, how thy tyranny eclipsed the very cruelties of Pharaoh, the lord of the stakes? Then there's another reference from the Quran. Mm-hmm. By God, thine iniquity has rent asunder the veil of sanctity and caused the pillars of heaven to tremble. Where canst thou find refuge now? Who shall protect thee from the dreadful scourge of thy Lord, the all-compelling? There is no haven for thee in this day, O ungodly doubter. Whereupon the agony of death seized him, and he saw no more. Thus did we lay hold on him in our wrathful anger. And severe is thy Lord in his punishment. This is pretty heavy stuff.
You want to explain the condition of hell?
Yes, but I want to just finish saying that we thought we had left this behind with the Old Testament. Not so. Because justice, you can't leave justice behind. Justice endures. And there is a price. I mean, we're all imperfect. It's not that. But people who deliberately persecute other people for no reason, there's got to be a price. So go ahead, Nina.
Of hell, you can do it. The condition is a state. I just want to say this, and then I'll let you, because you have a really good way of explaining this. But what comes to mind is that it's two different concepts of death. There is the death of the physical body per se, and there's an uneasiness in our culture about it. However, I have seen death manifest, that process, at least on the physical plane, manifests itself in two ways. There is one that is quite peaceful, that is almost like that same energy and that same vibe as what a birth is for those who have ever attended a birth. It's very natural, peaceful, flowing, as if all things are resolved, and there's an expectation for something greater on the other side. And then there's the death in which there's agony and terror and regret. It's very different. It's very different. Very different feeling that goes with what I've witnessed, and that regret is what I sense in a lot of those instances. So, I have a very strong Christian foundation, and I understand that one of the benefits of Christ dying with a certain amount of agony than peace, because there was a moment during the end of the persecution, where he called out and said, my God, why have thou forsaken me?" And then a lot of people understand that to be the moment where Jesus was passing through hell. Hell being the absence of the presence of God. He couldn't feel it. So when people speak about Jesus having taken on the sins of the world in his death process, that was that moment. That was hell. That was sin, the regret. He took it all on. He took it on and was separated from God. But then beyond that moment, there was peace of offering up his spirit. So in those, these are the things that come to mind, that it's a little bit more complex yet simple. For those of us who earnestly follow after the ways of God, even in our imperfections, we can have peace. We can pass on from this life, this form of existence, without worry, However, if you have operated in such of the case as this ruler that Bahá'u'lláh is speaking to and about, there's no hope. There's a lot of darkness. There's no salvation. And there's a perpetual state of regret and agony and absence from the presence of God. There's no redemption for that. And that's torture. Whether we can acknowledge it or not, we yearn, our souls, our spirits yearn to be in the presence of God, to be back in that place of perfect peace and perfect love. So when we are not there, or when we can't sense it, that is torment. That is like a fire. That is a state of hell.
Yeah, and what I've come to realize, I think of hell simply as regret. Because, like I always say, we've all experienced hell. We've all experienced heaven. And hell just seems to be this just intense regret, intense remorse and regret that we can't get away from. And that's the fire. That's the fire. It's likened to a fire because it eats us up. I have to say that I don't understand this concept of eternal damnation, and I'm not real clear that that's, certainly Baha'u'lláh doesn't talk about it in those terms. He doesn't use the term eternal damnation. It's confusing to me, but elsewhere, he says that progress for the soul continues to occur in the next world, and it can be gradual or not. I mean, a lot of it depends on the prayers of others for us, and people doing good deeds in our name, giving to the poor and so forth. So I don't know what eternal damnation is. I don't know what that means, because time is relative, and in the next world there's no sun rising and falling, so there's no time. So I don't know what it means. I know there's justice. I know that what goes around comes around. And that's about where I stop.
Sounds good.
So some of these concepts, I've been meditating on for like 40 years, and gradually I get a hit on what's going on. This one is eluding me. Then an angel from the right hand of the throne summoned him. Behold, the angel of affliction. Is there any place to flee to save hell, wherein the heart boileth? And there's another reference probably to the Quran there. 69. Was it? Sixty-three. Heart translates Fu'ad, the given name of the Ottoman minister.
Uh-huh.
And the angel of chastisement received his spirit, and a voice proclaimed, Enter the bottomless pit, which hath been promised in the book, and whose existence thou didst day and night deny. There's retribution. It matters what we do. It matters. Then he says, Soon will we dismiss the one who was like unto him. Oh, that's Ali Pasha. Ali Pasha was the Ottoman prime minister to whom Baha'u'lláh addressed 2 tablets, the 2 previous tablets that I read. He was not a nice person. And he persecuted the children, the mothers, the nursing mothers, the pregnant women. He persecuted all of them. Soon will we dismiss the one who is like unto him, Ali Pasha, and will lay hold on their chief, who ruleth the land, Sultan Abdul Aziz. And I verily am the Almighty, the All-Compelling. So Baha'u'lláh is prophesying here, and it did come to pass. Be thou steadfast in the cause of God, and extol thy Lord morn and eve. Suffer not the light of thy soul to be quenched by the calumnies of the one who was so blinded by our bestowals as to turn away from God, the Lord of all names. He inspireth his devoted followers, even as the evil one prompteth his own. Ere long shalt thou behold him in evident loss, both in this world and in the world to come. He indeed is among those whom an afflictive torment doth await. He dispatched an epistle to someone in that land, a writ of the workers of iniquity, in which he mocked God, and recorded that which filled all created things with dismay. Say, canst thou find anyone to protect thee when the wrath of God, the all-powerful, the unconstrained, is visited upon thee? Okay, I don't know who he's talking about here. Suffer not the light of thy soul to be quenched by the calumnies, that's like the lies, of the one who was so blinded by our bestowals as to turn away from God, the Lord of all names. Because Baha'u'lláh was very, very forgiving. And he overlooked the faults. And apparently what he's saying is that this person he's talking about became arrogant as a result and had followers. But he was evil. And I don't know exactly who he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about one of these people or if he's talking about his half-brother who rebelled against him. But what I can do is I can find out, because I have a friend who will tell me. He knows. Okay. Let's go on. Would you like to read?
No.
Thus have we informed thee of that which lieth concealed within the hearts of men. Verily, thy Lord is the Almighty, the All-Knowing. Arise for the triumph of this cause, and gather together my loved ones. Help them to see the truth in this day, when the feet of men have slipped. Say, it behooveth every true believer to assist his Lord. He verily is your helper, while the people have no one to turn to in this day. I think I'm going to finish this tablet, even though it's kind of long. I mean, there's not too much left. And I'm looking for this next footnote here. Goes along the okay, so MIDI is 64. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's go back here because I think I'm getting a hit on this now after looking at this footnote. Let's go back here. Suffer not the light of thy soul to be quenched by the calumnies, the lies, of the one who was so blinded by our bestowals as to turn away from God, the Lord of all names. Yes, that was Mirza Yahya. Mirza Yahya was Baha'u'llah's half-brother, who became very jealous and desirous of power. He sought leadership among the Baha'is, which is not what it was about. Baha'u'llah wasn't interested in leadership. Baha'u'llah was bringing the message of God to humanity. That was his mission as the manifestation of God for this age. But his brother, whom he raised after the death of his father, fell in with bad company and became very jealous and did many things, including poisoning Baha'u'llah. He did many things. He set people up to try to kill Baha'u'llah numerous times. It was a mess. So he's talking about Mirza Yahya, and he says, he inspireth his devoted followers. So there were followers of Mirza Yahya. So this is a very interesting topic. Like, how can these people succeed in these, just a second here. How can people succeed, Well, because they're very charismatic. These people are very charismatic, and they say all the right things, and they seem really peaceful and loving, but then they just slip in something. They slip in a doubt or an accusation, or, they're very manipulative. And there's lots of people like that in the world today. All of these so-called leaders, they just say all the right things, and they drive around in fancy cars and wear diamonds, and, this is how you know. The true, every manifestation of God, every divine messenger has lived in poverty. Every one of them. Baha'u'llah came from one of the richest families in Persia. His father was high up in the government. He was in the court of the Shah. Everybody expected Baha'u'llah to take his position. That was what you did. Baha'u'llah gave it all up. And instead, he chose a life of 40 years of imprisonment and exile and poverty and persecution. Those are the ones that are real, not the smooth talkers. So Baha'u'llah talks about this person, which I believe is Mirza Yahya, and he says, he inspireth his devoted followers, because he had followers, even as the evil one prompteth his own. He sowed doubts and misgivings in the hearts. Ere long shalt thou behold him in evident loss, both in this world and in the world to come. It says, he indeed is among those whom an afflictive torment doth await. He dispatched an epistle to someone in that land. I guess it must, I'm not sure when this was written. I don't know whether this was before or after Baha'u'llah's final banishment to Palestine. So I'm not sure which land he's talking about. In which he mocked God and recorded that which filled all created things with dismay. This was incredibly painful for Baha'u'lláh. He raised this son, this brother. Say, canst thou find anyone to protect thee when the wrath of God, the all-powerful, the unconstrained, is visited upon thee? No. We're told to bring ourselves to account each day. We're told to clean up our act every day. You know, if we just keep ignoring and keep ignoring and keep ignoring, there's a price. You don't get away. We don't get away with things. We have to face ourselves and do something about our weaknesses and our inconsistencies. It's a gradual process. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. God is merciful, but we have to address ourselves to the task. Mm-hmm. Then we seized Mihdi, 64. So he's talking about Mirza Mihdi-i-Rashti, a judge in Constantinople and supporter of Mirza Yahya. See, I looked at this footnote. So then when I saw that he referred to this judge, then I realized, yeah, he's talking about Mirza Yahya, which I suspected, but I wasn't sure of. So this was in Constantinople. So Constantinople was...
Empire. That was also part of the Ottoman Empire at that time, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And is it called Edirne? Oh, no, that's Adrianople. Istanbul. Turkey. Yeah. So that's what he meant when he said that land. He was talking about when they were in Constantinople. That was before. So the order was Baha'u'lláh was from Tehran. He was Persian. He was banished to Baghdad in Iraq, and then from there he was banished to Constantinople, and then to Adrianople, and then to Palestine. So when this is probably written in Adrianople, and he was talking about Constantinople. I guess it's maybe more interesting to me than it is to everybody out there, all these details. Sorry about that. Then we seized Mihdi, this judge, to whom we had promised divine chastisement in our books and scriptures. When our awful majesty encompassed him, he entreated, may I not retrace my steps? You can't wait until you're on your deathbed. A voice exclaimed, woe betide thee, O disbeliever in the day of resurrection. This is the nethermost fire, and its flames have been made to blaze for thee. Thou didst forsake all righteous deeds in thy vain and futile life, and now thou hast none to shield thee from God. Thou art indeed he who caused all hearts to be consumed, and the Holy Spirit to lament. He pleaded, is there yet no refuge for me? Nay, by my Lord, even shouldst thou seek recourse to every possible means. Thereupon he cried out in such distress as to cause the people of the graves to tremble, and was seized by the hand of invincible power. A voice then proclaimed, return unto the seat of wrath in the fire of hell, wretched and evil be thine abode. Thus did we lay hold on him, as we laid hold on those who preceded him. Behold their houses, which we have left to the spiders. And take heed, O ye who are endued with understanding. He it is who opposed God, and for whom the verses of wrath were revealed in the book. Blessed is he who readeth it, and pondereth its contents, for a goodly end doth in truth await him. Thus have we recounted unto thee the tale of the evildoers, that thine eyes may be solaced. As for thee, there lieth in store naught but a blissful end. And I just want to say one more time, Bahá'u'lláh has come to establish the kingdom of God on earth. Bahá'u'lláh is the fulfillment of all the prophecies, whether it be the return of Christ in the glory of the Father, whether it be the coming of the Messiah, the appearance of the 12th Imam, or every prophecy from every spiritual path from every part of the world about the end times when the kingdom of God will be established. Bahá'u'lláh has come to bring the long-awaited peace on earth, and he's brought the building blocks and the blueprint and the tools for us to build this peace. When a leader of a country tries to abolish and demolish this message, which is for all humanity, that's a very, very serious thing. And Baha'u'lláh is, in this tablet, he's warning us. He's saying there is justice. We may not like it, we may not want it, but there is. So let's clean up our own acts so that our end may be not but a blissful end. So, let's see what time it is. I'm going to close here because we're running out of time, and just pray for all of those who are watching and for ourselves. Pray that this day we're given an opportunity to shed the light of truth and understanding, to engage in meaningful conversations in a way that uplifts people and opens their eyes a little more, and that our eyes may be opened more. And that, as Jesus said, we forgive those who trespass against us, and we show them love and mercy and kindness, and we learn to subdue our reactivity. Ya Bahá'u'lláh, O thou glory of the most glorious.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Have a blessed day.